Thanks, and I'm open for any questions.
Representative, you said basically the misuse of these funds, in the end, is the citizens of Prichard who are gonna have to pay for this.
Yes, sir. Yeah, basically, if you look at the budgeted amount, and we're talking about $50,000 a month for about 48 months, and with that time frame taking place, that's money that's leaving the budget, and it's already a cash-strapped city. The residents are, most of the residents are extremely poor or elderly in that community, and it's already been a burden placed on them by them having some of the highest water rates in the area. In Mobile County, they have the highest water rates, and I'm sure also close in the state. And so this is definitely an unfair burden that's been placed on them. It's affecting the bond rating, which will also force the board to take actions to raise water rates to cover that bond covenant. So this is definitely a lose-lose situation for the citizens of Prichard, and most importantly, the senior citizens in the city of Prichard that's already on fixed incomes and just barely making ends meet.
So those who are guilty of taking part in these actions, what kind of punishment should they get? What kind of punishment do you think they'll get?
I can't speak directly to the severity of the punishment that they will receive, but what I am asking is that they be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. I'm asking that the DA's office in Mobile County be as aggressive as possible with them. I'm asking that the Attorney General's office be as aggressive as possible. The U.S. Attorney's office, because this could very well be a federal crime, be as aggressive as possible. The Alabama Ethics Commission to be as aggressive as possible. The Alabama State Auditor's office to be as aggressive as possible. And also the Examiners of Public Accounts to be as aggressive as possible, and to go back for at least 10 years, because we believe that this has been going on for a long time, and that way everybody that's accountable for these actions will be held accountable.
Did Prichard receive any COVID relief funds for the waterworks through the CARES Act or the American Rescue Act?
I'm not exactly sure about that, but I know with the funding that we just most recently passed for the sewer projects, no, they were not included in that funding.
Do we need to reform how we do corruption investigations in the state of Alabama?
I think we need to be more aggressive when it comes to violation of public trust, and definitely in situations where it's concerning the taxpayer dollars and the broken public trust of public officials, just like at the Prichard Water Board.
Any idea why Prichard didn't get any funding from the recent ARPA funds?
Okay. The reason why, from my understanding at that point, is most of these were systems that were already in dire conditions, like a lot of them in Lyons County, and that list kind of created itself based off of the need of those communities. And so communities that were not in that dire of strait did not make that first cut.
Does the high water rates and the uncertainty that this places over Prichard going forward mean that more residents and businesses will locate in other communities like Baldwin County and just bypass Prichard in the future?
I think anytime that you're in the media for negative things, it can negatively impact your economic development for those communities. Also, high water rates, when you can compare, if you have an industry and you can compare the water usage that you would use and how much those rates would be, I think very well people would look and see where they would want to locate their business and industry based off of the infrastructure and the bills that they have to pay.
Mr. Bracy, you said investigate going back 10 years. If we do that, are we talking maybe millions of dollars with this issue, sir?
Yes, sir. I think if we're just looking at the last few years, we've looking at between $3 and $4 million already. So I think it's going to be a lot of things that should come out in this. The manager, Ms. Nia Bradley, is the person that's been on the forefront of this, and so she's been the person that's been in the media the most. But it's my understanding that it's about 7 people. 7 different credit cards, possibly. Also a ghost credit card out there. People are just spending wildly and freely like the rich and famous off of the backs of the poor citizens. So I definitely think that that's something that we need to look at.
Should we maybe the state bring a civil action where we claw back all this money that these people have accumulated in their homes, businesses, personal accounts, luxury items, whatever they've gotten through this?
Yes, sir. I would like to see everything that's been purchased with these illegal funds be confiscated, and I would like to see all of the money paid back, any restitution that need to be paid back to the citizens. I know it's some citizens right now that have absorbent water bills of north of $3,000 a month. And with water bills of that price, I know some have contacted an attorney and they are looking at some type of action. I'm not sure if it will be a class action or a singular action, but I think they are looking at some type of action.
$3,000 a month.
Yes, sir.
How does a food truck disappear? Where would you find that?
I have no idea for that. Apparently, that I would think that would have to be an inside job for somebody to be able to do that. We've seen expenses paid. We've seen college tuitions paid at a couple of different colleges. Also, a trucking school. We've seen bills of almost $9,000 to Gucci, $17,000 to Louis Vuitton. First class airfare, 5-star hotels, resorts, just major credit card transactions, almost $100,000 on Mardi Gras throws, $6,000 at one stay at the Ritz-Carlton in Georgia. They've been all over the country, almost like globetrotters. They've just been freelancing and spending the taxpayers' dollars at will. And that's one of the reasons why I think we should go back, because I think that the board members at that time should also be held accountable, and if any of them are currently serving on the water board, I think they should resign. These water board appointments are 6-year appointments, and if this is happening under their watch, then they also have to be accountable. I understand that the employees have done wrong, but on top of that, the city officials and the water board members actually took an oath to the citizens, and they must uphold that oath. And whenever they get to the point that they derelict their duties, then they need to step down and resign. And I can email if either one of y'all need the breakdown of some of these expenses.
That would be very helpful.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Y'all have any other questions?
Do you believe that the investigation will uncover even more people having been involved? Or are you confident that all of the guilty parties have already been identified?
I think it will bring to light more people. One of them is a ghost credit card. So at this point, I don't think, unless it's just recently occurred in the last few hours, that we know who that ghost credit card belonged to. That'll give us some idea. And I also heard recently today that Ms. Bradley's attorney said that her expenditures were approved. And if they were approved, we need to know approved by whom. So if that was approved indeed by a board member, then they need to also be held accountable for not being good stewards of the taxpayer dollars.
So when you start talking about credit cards, isn't that kind of teetering on federal offenses too?
I would think so. That's why I think the U.S. Attorney's Office in Mobile should look into this. I definitely think that these are federal crimes.